Ben was faced with a challenge when trying to find suitable activities for his grandfather living with Alzheimer's. This began his mission to improve the well-being of individuals living with dementia and ultimately improve their quality of life. Today, my guest is Ben Atkinson-Willis. He is the CEO of Relish, an online retailer of dementia-friendly products and a source of information and advice for the management of all stages of dementia. Their mission is to help improve the overall well-being of people with dementia by providing fun, meaningful, and engaging activities that help build their relationship with their family, friends, and caregivers. Today we talk about the mission and the inspiration behind Relish, the range of products and activities offered, the research and development process, the impact on relationships between individuals with dementia, their family, friends, and caregivers, their exciting upcoming product launch that aims at promoting independence and the ability to live at home. We explore the unique needs and challenges faced by people living with dementia and their caregivers, as well as the factors contributing to wellness, practical tips and advice, and the future goals of Relish in supporting the dementia community. Ultimately, the larger solution is to create a supportive and engaging environment that enriches the lives of those living with dementia and those that love them. Here is my interview with Ben. Hi, Ben. I am thrilled we're here, that we get to meet face to face. I've been following your work. We have somewhat of a connection or commonality with the relationship with our grandparents, and I know you have a personal story that led you to your mission. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and what you're up to. But first, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nicole. And thanks for having me on. It's great to have the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us more about your grandfather and how you decided to bring this mission into the world and want to change the lives of other caregivers.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it kind of started for me probably when I was about 10. My granddad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And obviously over the time after that, as a family, we saw kind of the effects that that had on him and all the family members around him. And one thing that we really noticed as a family that became more and more difficult was how to stay occupied throughout the day and how to enjoy life once
Mhm.
you have Alzheimer's, which can become increasingly difficult
Right.
as it becomes harder to communicate and all those sort of things. But one thing that we just loved doing together was jigsaw puzzles. And when my granddad was first diagnosed with Alzheimer's, we started with 1,000 piece, and we slowly went to 500, and then 200, and then it was 50 piece jigsaw puzzles. And then we eventually had to use like kids products, kids toys to kind of, because that's all he was cognitively able to do. And it just seemed crazy to me that there wasn't anything specialist on the market that was actually designed for someone like my granddad, because although he's had Alzheimer's and he was struggling to make sense of the world in the same way that you or I would, it didn't mean he didn't know who he was and didn't know the things that he liked. So using a kid's product was quite demeaning, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
So and yeah, I looked all around and there was just nothing on the market that was going to work, and the whole care sector and everyone with dementia was having to make do with either kids products or homemade products, or so it seemed a bit crazy to me. But luckily, by this point, I was training to be a product designer at university, and I thought, oh, I'm going to try and make one, see how that goes. So I set about trying to make the perfect jigsaw puzzle for my granddad, and looked into every little feature, every little problem that he had, and that was stopping him being able to do a normal puzzle. So we've created this very rough prototype, and things like the content. So he was an engineer in World War II, so we had the puzzles. It was big Spitfire. Pieces were really large, so he had dexterity problems, so he could pick up the pieces. The color contrast was really high because people with dementia obviously can have quite severe visual impairment problems. The finish was a matte finish, because again, glossy surfaces can cause issues. So we really designed it from the ground up, just specifically for people with dementia to be as perfect as possible. And then I tried it with my granddad, and yeah, he absolutely loved it. You could just see the kind of joy that was on his face when he completed it, which was just awesome to see. And that just got me thinking, okay, well, that's my granddad. That's been amazing. But what about all the other people living with dementia worldwide? I think there's 50 million plus people now living with dementia. Is this something that could help them? So yeah, I didn't probably know at the time, but that was really the seed of the idea that's led to Relish, and all the products that we create now.
I wish that you guys were around when I was a director overseeing multiple departments in a senior living community.
Yeah.
This was like, oh gosh, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, throughout that time. And I wanted to be able to interact with my residents. And puzzles were such a great piece, but it always felt so unsettling to use the childlike puzzles, right?
Yeah,
It just, oh, it hurt my heart every time I had to do it, but it was the only option at the time.
exactly. That's the thing. It's nothing to
Right.
do with the carers or anything. That's the only
Right.
option. So it's better than nothing. But
Yeah.
how much better could it be
Oh
with the
my
right
gosh.
resource? Yeah.
I know. So I know when I was reading your story, I was so thankful that there's products like that available because we do want to elevate that dignity and respect these lives that the people that we love have lived and all that they've contributed. And you mentioned, your grandfather with his history and being able to connect with him in a way that things that were meaningful to him, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love
Yeah. And
that.
it was doing the puzzle, but it was also an amazing opportunity for me and him to spend time together, which is shouldn't be overlooked as well because he did start to struggle to have a conversation further in his journey. And then the puzzle was a great way to do things together that didn't necessarily involve sitting down and have a conversation.
Right.
So it's just an amazing,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love the process from that
The
perspective too.
mechanism to connect. And I think, too, with the puzzle side, when you have the theme of also what the image or the visual is on the puzzle, that's just another conversation piece, too, pulling that
Exactly. Yeah.
story and history and hearing what they share.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be
So,
really powerful. Yeah, tap into that kind of earlier
mhm,
period in someone's life.
mhm.
So that kind of from your adolescence, 18 up to kind of 25 are your core memories. So if you can really tap into that, it's amazing what things in your cover you never even you knew about, never thought to even ask your granddad, for example. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
so it'd be really powerful.
I know. I always remember wanting to ask my grandma things about that time in her life too, because it was almost like this living history book where I could learn about things that I didn't, know before, and she could share. And then I would try to like write down as much as I could.
Yeah.
But it's like that living history that we so badly, I think, need to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Relish really is highlighting the well-being of people living with dementia. I mean, that's when I think of the company, you have these products, but it's really about something so much bigger and there's so much meaning behind it. Can you share with us more about Relish in terms of what you offer, how you support that well being? I know that I was looking through all of the different products and I love how you categorize them, and I'll let you share more about that. I'm sure I'll have more questions.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, at Relish, we're on a mission to improve the well-being of people living with dementia and those close to them as well, as you kind of highlighted before. And we do that through products, the puzzle being one example of that, but also through free resources and support as well, because we don't want to be a product company. We actually want to support the full well-being journey of someone living with dementia from diagnosis all the way through. Really, the aim is to just help people continue living life to the fullest extent that's possible for as long as possible, basically.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're trying to aim to do. And then, yeah, in terms of the product side of things, so we have a big range, ranging from things like simplified radios for earlier stages to help people enjoy the power of music. Jigsaw puzzles, obviously, I've mentioned, painting products, different tactile products, more later stage, games that you can play as a family together. So a big suite, and obviously, we're building out at the time, and I'll share with you the latest product we're about to launch later on, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of on the product side. On the resources, we have a huge suite of free activities that we offer as well. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
about 500, catered for different stages of dementia and different interests as well. Because what we found with our research was that actually you don't always need a physical product to actually be able to have a great time together or bring those kind of moments of connection. Simple things like going for a walk in the park, going to the pub, just having a conversation, the reminiscence,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about past memories. You don't necessarily need a product for that, but it's how do you approach that conversation? We provide loads of different tools and resources to help facilitate that, basically. And then finally, which is an area we've just released, is what we call our Wellbeing Hub. This is interviews with people living with dementia that are really, really inspirational, talking about how they have helped to improve their well-being since diagnosis of dementia. Because I think the big stigma around dementia, and there's a stat I saw from the Alzheimer Association that 62% of people think that life's over once you've had a dementia
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis. And that's something we really want to fight against because there's so much that you can do and you will be able to do to help still living a really fulfilling life. Coming from people with dementia, hearing that personal story around how they've managed to do that is really empowering and hopefully inspirational for people using our site as well.
Oh, I can imagine. And when we hear from other people that are in the same situation as us, I think it's even more impactful because they've walked that road and they can give us that encouragement when we need it most, right? It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
you don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, yes, you do.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
you do.
Particularly, yeah, when it's from someone with dementia as well, because you're like,
Hmm.
they really know what it's like, and to hear it from their mouth too is really good. And we do have family members as well to hear that kind of that side of the story too. So yeah, it's really really inspirational part of the
Yeah,
website.
it is. I hear from family caregivers that they always are wanting to ask other family caregivers, right? What works for you? How do you manage this? And it's the
Yeah,
perfect place to look for that guidance. And not only that, but I love that you offer those ideas and resources in terms of it might not necessarily need to be a product, but just having those other ideas of what can I do with my loved one to engage with them and to find that connection.
yeah.
So, in terms of those key factors that contribute to the overall well being, what do you identify those as being in terms of people living with dementia?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because it's kind of well-being is quite an abstract word. What is well-being?
Mm-hmm.
How do you quantify that? But I think it's important to remember that people with dementia aren't necessarily they're not different from you or I. They're just
Mm-hmm.
struggling to make sense of the world in the same way that we are. So it's very much human needs that will apply to everybody. But what we've created is what we call our well-being wheel, which tries to just visualize what that might be. So what that looks like is what we call a series of 8 pillars of well-being
Mm-hmm.
that all work together to help support someone living with dementia. So that's, for example, staying active. So that kind of physical well-being, really, really important. Spending time together can be amazing in terms of that connection. Celebrating achievement, having that kind of sense of purpose in life is really, really important. Even after, especially after a dementia diagnosis. Staying independent, we hear that time and time again. Like people want to keep their independence for as long as possible and try and maintain that as best they can. Finding calm, so keeping relaxed, reducing stress, particularly in the later stages of dementia, becomes really, really, really important. We touched on it before, but the sense of embracing your identity and maintaining that. So just because you've got dementia doesn't mean you want to do kids puzzles. You still want to have that life
Right.
history, that life story that's recognized and valued. Obviously, bringing joy as well. That's a huge part. Like happiness, fun. Just because you've got dementia doesn't mean you can't have lots of fun and laughter. And then finally, this is kind of one people don't always think of, but keep learning as well. Just
Mm.
because you've got Alzheimer's, it's a common misconception you can't learn to do something new. That's completely wrong. We've got people who never done some of our products before and then absolutely love it. So you can definitely keep learning. That's a
Mhm.
really nice one, I think.
It is. I was doing an interview this week with a neuropsychologist, and we were talking about dementia prevention. And in some of our conversation, he was referencing that. I think that sometimes we think there's maybe some signs or symptoms of that happening, and just the importance of our brains to continue to learn and to
Yeah,
continue to not just disengage and give up, but the importance of how that needs to be still a part of our lives.
yeah, exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
I was reading about you conducted a social return on investment analysis. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
our technical term. Yeah,
yeah, I know. It's like
yeah.
a long word. And is that where you pulled out how you identified some of those well-being pillars of support for people?
Exactly, yeah. So we had a study done by a university here in the UK called Worcester University. They looked at what's called measures of well-being and ill-being to try and evaluate what impact our products had in that real-world setting. See the kind of the return that people will get on purchasing some of our products. And yeah, it was really amazing to see that actually there was big increases in those well-being levers basically
Yeah.
in this study. So it really does have a huge impact. You know, I know from personal experience, my granddad, but it's great to see that there's actually data to back that up as well.
Oh, completely. And I know I like data, right? We want to know that what we're doing, what we're engaging with. I think especially with people that we love has some quantifiable factors to it that
Yeah,
we can see that. And who did you survey? Who was a part of that study?
So that was people living in care homes in the UK, independent evaluation basically of before and after using the products. But yeah, that's kind of one piece of the impact measurement that we try and do. So we also each year do social impact survey all of our customers, which also looks at people living at home with dementia as well. yeah, it's amazing to see. I think this year's one, we had 84% of people saw an improvement, at least one of those well-being pillars that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
So that's just awesome to see. And then the other bit is obviously, and often this gives the best insight and the best kind of sense of the impact the product's having. It's just the reviews that we get. So if you go on our Trustpilot, like they're really emotional, the impact the products are having on the lives of their loved one, but also them as well. Because I think just that moment when you see someone's face light up because they're doing a product, or they can now do something they couldn't do before, it's just, yeah, really gratifying for the families to see that too. So that's a great source of insight as well into the product's impact.
Like completely. And as we're talking about data, what research or development do you go through when you're looking at the appropriateness of the product or the benefits to ensure that they're right inclusive, or where do they land within those different stages? How does that work out for you?
Yeah, no, that's a really good, really important point, actually. Yeah, that's something we take really seriously as a product design business. Is that process, and it starts with three elements really. It's obviously us as a design business, medical researchers out there, and experts within a particular field. But most importantly, people living with dementia or carers have got that lived experience, which we work together to try and create the product. First step of that is always to try and define what the need is for the product. So what's the challenge that someone with dementia facing, or a family member's facing? Is there anything out there in the market already that's doing a pretty good job? In which case, it's probably not a need for a product, or actually is it like the puzzle? There wasn't anything out there that we know we could do a much better job. So we really define the need is there first. And then we work with the person with dementia and any researchers out there to try and generate ideas and create products. And that process takes kind of 9 to 18 months sometimes, depending on the product. Making prototypes, testing them with people with dementia, taking feedback, going back, and kind of going through that process over and over again until you get to a result you're really happy with. And then obviously launch it to the market. And that doesn't stop there. The feedback you get through the reviews, like I mentioned, and the impact surveys, etc., go back in generation 2, making improvements. So yeah, it's a never-ending job to try and make the product as good as they can be.
Oh, I'm sure. And based on feedback, and then coming up with some new ideas as well. I'm sure it's always that evolution of how you grow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you think you thought of everything, but then someone always comes back with a great suggestion that, why don't I think of that? And then you can build it into the product, which is really great.
Yeah, I know. I've had some family members where I'm like, oh, I never would have thought to do that, or use something that was made for one, engagement, but then they use it for totally something totally different. Yeah. We're so many creative minds in the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can't think of it all, but that's what's the beauty of getting the feedback.
It is. It is. So for family members, how do you recommend them to get started in terms of when they come and visit Relish? What I don't know, is there a process you recommend them? Do they shop by stage or at product, or what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, so that's really important, because you want to make sure you pick the right product for the right person, because you don't want to pick a product that's too late stage for someone early, because then it could be a bit upsetting to someone. Saying you don't want to do something too late stage, it would be too difficult and frustrating for someone with dementia. But we've got a really good tool on the website that helps you find your stage. Let's use something called the PAL assessment, which will series of 9 questions will tell you which stage you're in. And then once you complete that, it'll then show you a series of products, some of the activities I mentioned, and then also some of the advice material that we've got specific to that stage. So that's a really good starting point to get a good idea. I'd definitely recommend just playing around with the free activity resources. There's loads of great stuff in there, and it's a quick way to sort of see what works, what doesn't work. And then obviously if there's a product that you think is really going to work, then we've got lots of those things out there. But yeah, start with the stage, and then tailor it to what the individual might like, whether it's a puzzle or a game or something like that. Yeah.
I love the assessment tool. What a great idea to be able to plug in some things and help to be directed a little bit.
Yeah, so I think it's hard to know where to start, especially if you just got a diagnosis, or you're not a family member's not necessarily an expert in dementia at the beginning. It will probably be by the end, but it's having that guidance is really it's really helpful.
What are some of your favorite feedback that you've heard, or a story where you've seen some things implemented and you're like, oh, that's why I do this. This is what it's all about.
It's amazing. We get amazing quotes for it. I'll say one of the puzzles we got the other day was looking at the absolute joy and happiness on his face when he completed the puzzle, Stay With Us Forever. And that just kind of brought me back to my granddad's first puzzle we created. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we kind of set out to achieve. And then also with the kind of simplified electronics, people actually crying because they can now operate the radio again when they couldn't before. And just putting that control and power back in someone's hands is really powerful. So yeah, it's just great to see the impact that the products have. We just want to shout about it, tell more people that there's lots of resources that can help, really.
Yeah, yes. And I know you've got so many additional resources and support that complement the products. You've laid out some of those with the Wellbeing Hub. Do you have any organizations that you really love that you like to direct families to, or advice that you would offer for people if they're new to this diagnosis and trying to figure out how to manage it all?
Yeah, we actually have a bank of partners that we work with, and so after newsletter there's discounts and things. So you definitely go and check that out. Things like BetterHelp, which help with counselling and things like that. The Joy Club, having resources to keep enjoying life. We're building up the bank the whole time. We also work with Alzheimer's Research UK in the UK, who we're the wellbeing partner with, to try and support them too. So yeah, we're really trying to build out our kind of bank of resources. We've got a lot in the UK, and we're trying to build out what we offer in the US as well.
Right, right. I'm excited about that. Can you share some more insight into the upcoming product launch in August and how it is going to support people staying at home longer and giving them that independence?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited to finally be able to share this. It's been 2 years in the development of this product, which is called the Day range. But I'll give you a better background where it's come from and try and explain the products so you get an idea of how it works. One of the biggest challenges that people living with dementia face is around what we call time orientation. So you and me take this for granted, but we have an internal clock in our minds that keeps us knowing roughly what time of day it is. Is it the morning? Is it the afternoon? Is it nighttime? Is it the evening? But with dementia, one of the first things to start going is that perception of time. If you imagine you've got memory problems, you lose track of when you've had dinner, when you've had lunch. So you lose that kind of perception of where you are in the day. And what this leads to is a lot of disorientation. There's stories of people getting up in the middle of the night trying to go to work, or having lunch at 10 p.m. at night, just because of that confusion, disorientation around that comes with dementia. Alongside that, which doesn't help, is actually reading a conventional clock becomes more difficult.
Right.
And it's actually one of the early signs of dementia, whether you could read a clock face. So what we wanted to try and do was create a very simplified tool that helps people, one, tell the time, but also manage day-to-day tasks. Because the knock-on effect of all those things is that people stop eating as much as they should. Medication doesn't get taken on the right times. Daily things, personal hygiene doesn't get done, and someone's well-being and actual physical health will start to deteriorate. And often they can go into hospital or into care facilities much sooner than they necessarily need to, particularly if they're living independently. So yeah, the way this works is we've got a simplified day clock, which just has the time, the day, whether it's morning, afternoon, the date displayed on it. And then accompanying that is a task management tick list, basically. So you'll write down the 10 tasks that you need to do every single day. As those time points are reached in the day, an alarm will go off going, it's time to take medication, or it's time to have lunch, or it's time to walk the dog. An alarm will go off, a light will flash. Once you complete the task, you tick that off, and then you work your way through the full day. And then at 3 a.m. in the evening, it'll reset and start again. So 10 p.m. at night, the alarm goes off, time to go to bed. You can see everything you've done that day. Have I missed anything? And it really helps people manage their day. We found in the testing phase of it, people were using post-it notes and calendars and tick lists and all this kind of stuff. But the problem with that is you don't know, is that yesterday's tick list, or was that today's tick list, or have I lost my tick list, or so there's lots of chances to get disorientated, really confused, and it can become really difficult. And asking someone, one of the testing partners had a great phrase. It's like, what makes a good day for you? And he said, when a good day goes to plan. So when he's organized, when he's sure about what he's doing and everything kind of is easy for him to manage, that's when a day goes well. And that's what we're trying to kind of address with this product.
Oh, I'm excited about that. And as you were sharing, I was thinking about all the families, how that can help alleviate the concern and even the mental, what's the word I'm looking for? Energy we carry for our loved ones. I know so many people that will call mom 10 times a day, or dad, and say, did you do this? This is what's happening now. Now
Exactly.
let's do this.
Yeah.
Now take this. It's to have that independence is a big deal.
Yeah, so so I should have mentioned, that's a really good point. It's that family member reassurance is massive, and this product kind of helps. So either a carer or a family carer comes in to see their loved one, and they can see the tick list has been half done. That's just amazing. The medication's been taken, or certain things have been done. So it can be hugely reassuring, and you're not having that constant anxiety that someone's really struggling at home. So yeah, that's a really, really important side of it. We kind of want to build on that bit of it, but we'll see where the product development
Yeah,
goes.
good. I'll look for that. And looking ahead, what are you hopeful for the future? How do you see Relish growing? And I don't know, what's ahead for you?
Yeah, I think we just want to build on the mission really. So
Mhm.
to try and spread the word of improving the lives of people living with dementia. I say we're on a mission to try and help people live life fully for as long as possible. I don't think there's enough awareness out there. There's actually products, resources that can really help.
Mhm.
People don't know, like kind of you mentioned, people don't know these things exist yet.
Mhm.
So we really want to kind of raise awareness of what's out there, not just us, but there's lots of great new startups that are coming up all the time,
Right.
with fantastic resources that can be really, really helpful for people. So we want to be part of that story,
Yeah.
and driving the conversation forward for sure. And then alongside that, we also want to support, like I mentioned with Alzheimer's Research UK, the research within this space, help to find a cure, all those sort of things. We really want to kind of move that side of things forward as well. So yeah, it's really, really exciting times ahead, I think.
It is. I agree. There's so much more of a conversation in our world around all of this, and it's impacting so many people's lives, not only for families, but as you were sharing, I was thinking about just how many senior living communities, and I know in the US we have thousands of them, and there are whole departments dedicated to life enrichment, life engagement, wellness, having activities that are meaningful and purposeful. So they could all use the products
Yeah,
and have access to that. That's a huge need. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, you've massively seen that just since I've been doing this, the
Hmm.
importance of that stuff in the care sector,
Hmm.
driving through as well. So it's really, yeah, I just can't believe the change from 2011 when I started the company
Hmm.
to,
Hmm.
was 10, just over 10 years.
Yeah.
Change has been huge already. So just keeping that momentum going, I think.
Right. Yes. Well, where can we learn more? Where can we connect with you and Relish? And are your products available worldwide in certain locations? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we sell globally pretty much, Europe,
Hmm.
North America. So if you visit our website, www.relish-life.com, you'll be able to find the products there. We also sell on Amazon and through some retail partners. Yeah, but first port of call, go to the website, check it out. Yeah, see where it takes you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, encouraging us all that there's hope, that there are meaningful ways we can connect with our loved one through what you're doing. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
That's it. Yeah, thanks, and thanks again for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.